Morning, folks, and welcome back to Three's In. And what a beautiful morning it is here in Northwest Ohio. This first story I have for you this morning involves a friend of mine, Dale Masuda, flying on a basic instrument sortie with this kid. Now, in 1975-76, the first 4 rides a student received in the T-38 were in the back seat under simulated instrument conditions. They would get back there, and once we got airborne, they would reach back and grab this instrument hood, or the bag as we called it, pull it forward and secure it with Velcro. Then they would fly the mission under simulated instrument conditions. So the first I heard of this particular sortie was in the snack bar after they returned. I was getting a cup of coffee, and this kid was in front of me. And as he went to pay, his classmate asked him how his ride went, to which he said, well, the ride went fine, but he says, I'll tell you one thing. He says, when Captain Masuda tells you to stay under the bag, you damn well stay under the bag. Well, that's an interesting comment that you don't typically hear, so I thought, might want to ask Dale what that was all about. So I walked back into the flight room, and Dale was sitting there. I sat down and said, hey, Dale, this is what this kid had to say about your ride. I said, I suspect there's an interesting story behind it. And he proceeded to tell me. He said that once they were in the area, they were flying around for about 25-30 minutes, conducting basic instrument maneuvers. For the most part, they were very good for the student, but boring as hell for the instructor. So after about 25-30 minutes, Dale told the kid, he says, say, if you want, he said, why don't you come out from under the bag for a couple of minutes and take a breather. This was common. We'd do this just to give them a break from the workload of flying instruments. So they're up there at 27, maybe 28, 30,000 feet, somewhere in that area. And Dale says to him, is there anything in particular you'd like to see? And this kid says, well, you know, he says, I've never experienced zero G. I'd like to see that. You think we could do that? And Dale said, sure. So Dale takes the jet and starts downhill to gain a little bit of speed. And then he pulls the airplane up into a shallow climb. And at a certain point, he pushes the nose over. And voila, zero G. Well, as you might know it, this little spring that we used to have on our knee pads to hold our pencils popped off his knee pad. No idea, but there it was. So it floats up in this zero G environment, and it's right here in front of Dale, just floating there. Well, Dale swaps hands with the stick, so now he's flying with his left hand, and he takes his right hand and he attempts to grab the spring. I can tell you from personal experience, it never happens. That spring will sit there and seem like you just reach up and grab it, but you never can. So as Dale's trying to grab it, he's beginning to go back downhill, and he must have put some G on the airplane because this spring just shot its way back behind him and into the seat mechanism. That's not something that we typically would like to have as what we would call FOD, foreign object damage, but this is just a piece of FOD, if you will, in the ejection seat mechanism. You just never know where it's going to land. So Dale thinks, I better get that. So he levels off, tells the kid to go back under the bag, which he did, and then he tells the kid, give me a level flight, 30-degree bank turn, maintaining 300 knots. Okay, simple enough. So the kid gets set up, and he's in his turn, and Dale's pretty happy with what he's seeing. So he reaches down, grabs the canopy and the ejection seat safety pins, puts them in, unstraps his lap belt, and turns around and begins looking for this stupid spring. Unbeknownst to him, as he turned around, his comm cord popped out. So he still got his oxygen hose connected, but his communications cord had popped out. So Dale's back there looking around for this stupid spring. Meanwhile, the kid went around, completed a full circle, And then he starts in the second circle, and he says to Dale, he says, Captain Masuda, sir? No answer. Sir? Captain Masuda? No answer. Sir? Sir? Can you hear me, sir? Captain Masuda, sir? At this point, he reaches up and grabs the bag and lifts it up. And all he sees is Dale staring back at him. Now Dale's in his helmet, his sun visor's down, and his oxygen mask. And he is almost beak to beak with this kid. So Dale sees this kid raise the bag, not realizing how many turns they'd gone around because he's been busy looking for this stupid spring. He takes his finger and he goes like that. The kid, whoa, shuts the bag down and settles down, and Dale thinks, okay, I've had enough of this silliness. I better get back to work. So he turns around, straps back in, discovers his comm cord had come unplugged. So he reconnects it, takes his pins and stores them, and continues on the mission, not saying a thing to this kid. So they land, walk in the squadron. Kid comes in the snack bar and says, boy, he says, when Captain Masuda tells you to stay under the bag, he says, you better damn well stay under the bag. So that was that. Thanks.